You're listening to the Casual Swinger Podcast. As your hosts, we need to warn you that the material you're about to hear may be sexual or explicit in nature. This podcast is intended for an adult audience. Now, we don't expect you to act like adults. What's the fun in that?
We're a married couple living in Florida with over 13 years of experience in the lifestyle, and we take almost nothing seriously. Casual Swinger is a variety show, meaning we'll cover everything from music to events, travel, and even the occasional hilarious screw-up. Our show is about entertainment. We're not licensed professionals.
Not anything.
And our stories, commentary, and guidance should not be confused with the opinions of a licensed professional.
Now that you know, let's take those pants off and get comfy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Casual Swinger. My name is Mickey.
And I'm Mallory.
And we're a little late. Sorry about that,
Just a wee
folks. Yeah, basically one episode's worth. It's been a month since we put out an episode.
That's about when you had your face done.
Yeah, I had my face cut on, so my fucking face still hurts if I'm being honest.
Sorry. Yeah, you had some oral surgery.
I like oral. I don't like oral surgery. I've decided. That's a thing.
You did so well. Like, I thought you were going to end up healing pretty quickly, and it's actually taking a lot longer than anticipated.
Yeah, much longer. I still have fucking holes in my face, so if I sound funny, that's why. A little less exuberant, a little less my sparkly self.
I think you're still sparkly.
I'm not really sparkly today. I'm kind of a grump, but that's okay.
Okay, you said it. I didn't.
Uh-huh.
I was going to lie.
Okay, thanks for lying to me. I appreciate it. It's also huge. Biggest you've ever had.
It's big. Anyway.
So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the panic button.
Like your lady button?
Yeah, like panic attacks.
Oh, yeah, the panic button.
Yeah,
so,
the feigning like you don't know. This actually stemmed from something that happened to you not too long ago.
It does. So today we're going to talk about the panic button, but more than that, we're going to talk about self-soothing. Self-soothing is how we deal with the emotional roller coaster we endure when our partners have encounters outside of our relationships. Today we're going to talk a little bit about it and something that happened recently that took even me by surprise, I guess.
Yeah, it did.
So more on that later. Let's talk about what's been up lately, because there's a whole bunch of shit going on.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about your oral surgery here.
Oral.
That's
Said it again.
That's had you lead up for quite some time. I mean, you haven't even been able to really talk much.
No, I really haven't. It's been kind of shitty, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, but, and I'm proud of you for soldiering through it. It hasn't been easy.
No, it hasn't. And it is what it is. It's just kind of made us a little late, which we didn't want to do this season.
Yeah, sorry, guys, but life
Fail
happens.
On our part, whatever.
Mm-hmm. So what's up? What about any updates from Jamaica?
Yeah, so it is kind of a big update, right? Drum roll.
The longest fucking
You like that?
drum roll ever.
That was a hell of a long drum roll.
It's a little dramatic.
It's really not good news. By the way, so here's what happened, guys. Our grand spawn, as it turns out, is going to be born any day now.
Like, literally, we've been waiting every single day.
Yeah, she's late, and it's thrown a wrench into our plans to go to Hito in November, because now our first opportunity to meet the grand spawn is going to be the same week that we go to Hito. So we're not going to be there in November.
Yeah, it's definitely heartbreaking, because I don't know about you. When I have tough days at work, I dream and reminisce and look forward to that. So it's kind of been a light at the end of the tunnel. And anytime I feel like this is kind of par for the course, because we had to cancel in February as well, just for travel restrictions.
Yeah, we did.
So,
and now this is twice that we've canceled trips to Hito over COVID. And honestly, it's really not about COVID for us so much as it is about having an opportunity to get quarantined down there and not be able to meet the grand spawn. So
right, I think if we were betting people, I'm sure it'd be fine, I guess.
Yeah,
to
probably.
some degree, we
could
could short it. Yeah, I just don't want to miss out on my kids, my grandchild.
Which we're like the youngest grandparents in the
we
state
are.
of Florida.
I'm not even 40 yet.
Yeah, so this is kind of a crazy thing. But anyway, just a couple of updates for you guys regarding Jamaica. If you guys are going down there, if you're going down with our friends, Rachel's Rascals, Jamaica did not really make any major changes on September 20th to their COVID protocols.
Yeah,
Inbound travelers still need to test.
Yeah, we were sitting seat side waiting for them to update it, thinking something was going to change.
No, yeah, well, nothing really did. So here's the kicker, though. The United States is changing things up for the unvaccinated.
Yeah, that's true.
So travelers are going to need a test within 24 hours of re-entering the country, and they're going to have to provide proof that they've acquired and paid for a second test to take upon arrival back in the country. I think that's going to change things for unvaccinated travelers in particular, because that means now they only have 24 hours to sort their shit out. So I think that's going to make things a little challenging.
Sure. And this went live when?
This went live. Well, I guess technically it hasn't gone live yet. It's just been announced that that's the intention.
Okay.
And they were going to announce more details about making this effective in November, but they didn't say when.
Gotcha.
So just kind of stay tuned. Keep an eye on what's going on. Check out visitjamaica.com, and that should give you an idea of what you should be doing. But yeah, we're not going to be there anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah. And, it's definitely something new because I know when other people have traveled internationally, come to visit us, like Kate's actually a great example. I wouldn't know where to source that COVID test.
Yeah, well,
and
I mean,
do you
other than
have to have it on
one.
your? Yeah, I'm interested to find out what the U.S. is going to require because, do you have to have it on your person, as you're going through customs?
Yeah, well, and if you're
how do you do
vaccinated,
that?
I don't think you have to do all that. You just have to test within 72 hours of coming in. So Kate's
Gotcha.
vaccinated, so it won't matter. But
okay, so just the unvaccinated then.
right,
Okay.
it's kind of like, hey, get an umbrella so I don't get wet. Yeah, that's
okay.
I'm really impressed with it all. But anyway, so what else is going on? So we went down to Key West and hung out for a little bit. And I went by in the offices for Fantasy Fest to see about getting them to come on the show.
Yeah, you went down there for a few days.
Yeah, and dropped into the offices, introduced myself. Everything seemed like it was going to go pretty good. Then I got a message back from those guys, and they said something to me that pissed me the fuck off.
I think it was actually hurtful.
Yeah,
which was really where the anger came from.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm getting kind of sick of it, right? So for your birthday party, I'd contacted 2 different bakeries that said almost the same thing to me. We don't deal with people like you. And
Awful.
that was hurtful enough.
Because we're swingers?
Yes, and because I was going to put our logo on the cake, they were like, no, absolutely not.
Really?
And then I had a boudoir picture of you that I had taken that I was going to put on the cake, and they said no. Now, if it was for my loving wife and I didn't have a Casual Swinger logo on it, then it would have been fine.
I was going to say, if it's the one I think it is, then
it didn't even show anything.
It doesn't show anything.
Didn't show a thing.
Okay.
And they were dicks about it, so I was like, you know what? Fine. Anyway, I found a better baker. But while I was down there talking to those folks, everything seemed like it was going to be okay. Then they reached back out to me. And the exact thing that they said to me, right? And we invited them on the show, just to talk about their upcoming event with positivity, fun, humor, just the way we do things, guys. You've listened to our interviews before.
Can I interrupt you for 2 seconds?
Why not?
Well, because Fantasy Fest, thanks. Well, Fantasy Fest, I mean, has this perception, especially I think inside of our community, that it's very sex positive, sex forward, and I've been, and that was my takeaway, that it was just this all-inclusive event.
Yes. Well, It's definitely not that anymore.
Yeah.
Because their exact words to me were, your show is not the type of podcast we'd be interested in participating in.
I'm still not mad yet.
Well,
only because
I guess, I don't know. I feel like it was a lame ass thing to say. And, when I said, well, what we want to do is really just talk about what Fantasy Fest is, how it came to be, how positive an environment it is, talk about sex positivity and creativity. And they said, that's not what Fantasy Fest is. They said Fantasy Fest is a celebration of art and creativity. It has nothing to do with sex or sex positivity. And they are trying specifically to get away from that reputation that they have built for themselves over the last 35 years or so. So they would like to turn this into the Key West Arts and Crafts Festival, everybody, just so you know that's what we're going to have down there. So instead of 65,000 people coming in to celebrate creativity and sexuality, they're going to have 6,500 people come in to buy some crafts from the craft fair.
Yeah. I think that's a mistake. I think they're being a little closed-minded, and maybe they're getting heat from somewhere else. I think they could have addressed us a little bit better, a little more politically correct. But you know what? No one has to.
No
one has to. Protect our feelings. And
Not hell with us.
And a lot of people who are mainstream don't want to be tied to swingers. That I understand, especially if they don't have anything. They're not involved in an industry that could be a peripheral or offshoot of.
Right. And if this podcast was called the Everything Podcast, which is really what it is, right? Because we talk about everything under the sun. If this was the Everything Podcast, they probably would have done it. And we would have done what we always do, which is provide the questions ahead of time and given them a great opportunity to talk about what it is they're trying to do in a very positive manner. We just happen to be sex-positive people. They weren't interested. So it's fine. Not everybody wants to do our show. Maybe they'll do somebody else's show. They'll get suckered into it by somebody's show that doesn't say swinger in it. But, it is what it is. It's not a big deal. We're just going to shove sex positivity to the side in Key West this year. And by the way, there is no parade for Fantasy Fest this year.
I'm a little surprised. The parade is like the main event.
Yeah, well, they say it's for COVID, but maybe it's to keep the naked people out of the streets.
Okay.
If this is the way they're going,
That's
it wouldn't surprise me a bit. So we'll see. Maybe the parade will come back next year. The last 2 days of Fantasy Fest, they allow people to be fully nude as long as they're painted. Right, so you can be naked in the street as long as you're painted.
Well, right, your naughty bits have to be obfuscated.
Yes, by paint.
Like you can't paint a naked body on top of your naked body.
Right.
Like we've seen that before.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Doesn't work.
Well, hey, I got abs painted on me, and that was awesome. That totally worked. Everybody believed it. It was just fun.
But anyway, yeah. Well, that's interesting. I wonder how it'll shake out for them.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we're super negative right now because we just talked about.
Yeah, let's talk about something else.
Yeah, we talked about not going to Hito, and then we talked about Fantasy Fest
womp,
being the. So anyway, all that whatever, it happened. Womp womp womp. How about your birthday? We did have a birthday.
Oh my God, you are the best husband on the planet, and I'm sure there were a few husbands or boyfriends that were in trouble the next day. So Mickey put together the biggest surprise he's ever been able to pull off in the 15 and a half years we've been together. Never ever have I had a surprise party of this size. I think the only surprise party I've ever had before this was, I don't know, in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, in elementary school. And it really wasn't a surprise. It was just my family.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was absolutely floored. We had some wonderful friends who participated, flew in, hung out. A few people that actually flew in. I'm still floored. I still can't believe it actually happened. Being I was blindfolded. Let's start there. I was blindfolded and I was told that we are going to have drinks somewhere. And then this big surprise was going to unfold. And I thought my surprise was the folks that showed up here for the weekend that were staying with us.
Dave and Andy. We had Corn-Fed Swingers.
Yes.
So Jess from Corn-Fed Swingers came in.
Yes. And it was amazing. So we're having these drinks and then I get blindfolded. Which, by the way, my favorite part was screaming that I was kidnapped from the back seat.
Yeah, that was a little unnerving when you did that, by the way. Dave was driving, and he's like, get the bitch.
I had no idea where we were. It turns out we were just back at our fucking house.
We were in the neighborhood when you did that, by the way.
I know. I yelled to my unassuming neighbor, who probably knew it was me, and I did not know it was them, that I needed help and I was being kidnapped. But anyway... you guys lead me in here and take the blindfold off. And I'm not good with surprises. I just don't react well. That's why I don't cry at weddings and funerals. Like, it's just not my thing. I'm a planner. And then looking across the room and like taking stock, there were so many people here. Like, then my panic started to set in. And it was joy. It came from a very, very positive place, but I didn't know how to react, so I ran into the laundry room.
You did run the laundry room. I have video of that, as a matter of fact.
But, it was so good.
It was so good. I think the thing that jumped out at me was how big our tribe has gotten down here in Florida.
It's
huge.
It is the perfect size. Everyone in that room, I can honestly say I love deeply.
It was great.
They're amazing human beings for wanting to celebrate my silly ass. I just can't think of enough. You had a bartender. You had one of my favorite local artists that sing. He was here, and I've been begging to have him do a party for us.
And then
years.
Every girl here was begging to fuck him before the night was over.
Yes, was swooning over him. I mean, we've been doing all these improvements to the house, and I kind of had a feeling something was going on, but I figured once our friends showed up, on that Thursday, Friday, that was it. Like, we were just
hell no, we were just getting started.
Yeah. And
it was a weekend full. Bartender, we had a musician. I brought in all new lights. Actually,
a bunch of local friends that decorated while we were gone.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. What you didn't know is that our guests decorated the entire house for your party.
It didn't even look like the same place.
Set up for the caterer. I mean,
I still got a fucking pineapple balloon up in the corner of the ceiling.
Yeah, so can't thank those guys enough. They know exactly who they are. Now, by the way, the couple that led that charge doesn't even listen to the show. So, if they ever do listen, they'll know how much we care and what they did for us, which was just absolutely awesome. So
yeah. Anyway, so I'm still over here basking in just all the feels and positivity and love. And thank you so much for making me feel like the most special human on the planet to you.
Well, as I'm so fond of saying, this dick simply will not suck itself. So sometimes you just gotta lay it out there.
All right. Well, you earned blow parties.
Yay.
This year for
See, we call them blow parties in this house, folks. You know why?
Because no one likes going to work.
Everybody hates a job. So there are blow parties here in the casual compound. Come on over and have a blow party.
Hey, do we have time to talk about Horny as Fuck Fall?
Let's talk about Horny as Fuck Fall. It's our show. We can talk about it whatever we want.
So I made a friend.
You did?
I like him a lot.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's cool.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Has some shit gone down? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did some dirty shit. But he makes me I really like hanging out with this one too. So more to come. And I reconnected with somebody recently that I haven't heard from in a while. So that could be something fun as well.
Oh, wait a minute. So you said more to come. Is that a pun?
Yes. I'm a very punny girl.
Oh,
yes.
So punny. All right. Well, hopefully you have a good time in your Horny as Fuck Fall.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about me and my friends?
I think you're building your own little stable there.
Is that what we decided it was called? You have a harem, I have a stable.
Right? You have your own little stable of little friends and horses that you ride.
My little ponies.
You can't call them little, Mallory. It is not okay. No guy goes, I don't want to be a little anything.
No,
a little horny maybe. That's it.
Oh my God. I can't believe I said that. Please delete it later.
I'm not. I'm leaving that in so they know that you think they're little.
Anyway, but you have that button somewhere, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I have all kinds of buttons. Here, you got this one. No, that's not a good one.
Oh, I hate those buttons.
This is for the ones that like you. Horny as fuck fall. Anyway. All right. So last but not least, Podcastapalooza Encore is coming up in November in Dallas. There is one King Deluxe room left for that event.
Is that the last room?
That's the last room.
Are you shitting me? She's only got one room
left.
All
left
right, guys, jump
PCAP.
on it.
And PCAP's going to include monogamous marriage, average swingers, sweet life, I think black and kinky lifestyle. And I think there's a couple other that are going to be out there. So, I mean, obviously Dallas is a blast. This is the Canvas Hotel, which is a super cool hotel.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a really, really great venue and a great time.
Yeah, I can't remember who she hired, but she did announce recently that there's someone doing a ropes course.
Yeah, they got a ropes course. They got a drag show. They got a few other things going on. So Kate's always mixing this thing up to make it a more inclusive, more positive event, which I really love that she does that.
And if you guys have any questions about, PCAP Encore or maybe even the 2022 events, definitely reach out, especially if you're on Twitter and know anyone who went, and get their feedback, because something she does is, this is just the shit you know about. Kate has other shit always in her back pocket, and being there and having the experience.
She's already planning next year.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to us, or, shout out on Twitter, email us, podcast@casualswinger.com. So
yeah, see, all that shit. Anywho, that's it for us for the intro. We're going to come back here in a few minutes, and we're going to talk about panic and self-soothing and just the disasters that come from when those butterflies that you get in your stomach, when they turn into a hurricane of razor blades and you can't control it. Wow. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about what happened to me, no bullshit, not too long ago. And maybe we'll have a little fun. Mallory, you want to tell everybody where to find us? Yeah, man. We are Casual Swinger everywhere. You can find us at casualswinger.com. If you love us and like to say something nice about us, feel free to do that on iTunes. Seriously, leave us a fucking review.
Yeah. I like affirmation just like everyone else.
Mickey has a huge penis.
That is true. We're also on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you'd like to check out our dating profiles, we're on Double Date Nation, SDC, SLS, and Castle.
There it is. We'll be back in a hot second with more on the panic button here on Casual Swinger.
Welcome back to Casual Swinger. I'm Mallory.
And I'm Mickey.
And we're going to talk about the art of self-soothe.
there's an art to self-soothing. If there's an art to it, I am a fucking horrible artist.
You know what? That's the beautiful thing. We're both on a roll today. The beautiful thing about art is it's a matter of perspective, right? And everyone's got a different one.
I guess. I mean, it's definitely not an art form, right?
No,
So,
it's not.
like we talked about in the lead-in, self-soothing is something we refer to when we talk about children, right? When we talk about kids crying in a crib, you have to teach them how to self-soothe by letting them sort their shit out.
Right.
I don't think it works the same way for swingers. But in reality, self-soothing is any behavior an individual uses to regulate their emotional state by themselves.
Yes.
Now,
hence the self part.
We don't really do a lot of things by ourselves, as lifestylers or really just in what we're doing. This is a team sport, right?
Yeah, usually. But in our dynamic specifically, we have the opportunity to experience things alone. And sometimes that means that there's one man left.
Sometimes you literally are self-soothing. But at the same time, I think self-soothing still comes into play in couples play. Even when there's 4 people on a bed.
Oh, 100%.
You still have to figure this shit out. So what are we talking about? So emotional states can be affected by literally anything. Anything at all. It could be a memory or your environment.
Yeah. A number of different circumstances. Communication. I mean, finances. I mean, there's probably
a bad day at work.
Yeah. There's probably, dozens of different triggers.
Yeah. Or how about just communication or lack thereof? Like maybe she's not looking at me this time, or maybe she's so into it she's making a different noise this time, or maybe he came this time and he never gets off, right? And that can create issues for people trying to self-soothe, trying to tell themselves that what's happening right now is okay. And why do we struggle with this? Where does this come from? Where does it start? All right. So, of course, it starts with this generation of monogamy that's been beaten into our head by every television show, every book, every person in our lives is telling us you got to grow up, you got to get married, you got to love that one person and that one person's body parts only for the rest of your life.
You missed a big one, religion.
Oh, yeah.
Boom.
Religion is the number one.
Here is the box. Please
violator.
live inside of it. And if you go outside, you will burn forever in perpetuity. You're welcome.
Yes, here you go. Oh, by the way, I love you.
And I love you.
But, it really is kind of out there.
Right.
But what we realize is that as ethically non-monogamous people, there are circumstances that we're going to engage in that may still run counter to something that runs deeper than the way we think or the way we feel. Not everybody is oriented ethically non-monogamous the way we are in the lifestyle. Some people, this is a hobby for. Some people, this is something they're trying. Some people are trying to spice up their marriage. There's a lot of reasons why people get into the lifestyle. Not everybody just kind of identifies this lifestyle the way that we do. That doesn't mean that we're impervious to this.
No, and it doesn't mean we could repeat the same act 50 different times. It doesn't mean we're going to feel differently 10 of those.
Yeah.
Or 3 of those, or just 1 of those.
100%. So as adults, not as children in a crib, we normally kind of self-soothe in different ways, right? So maybe we start out with the old favorite, like talking to yourself. Like, all right, Mickey, nothing's wrong. This is cool. She's having a good time. She'll be back in a little while.
The mirror conversation, right?
Yeah.
The
Look
bathroom
in the mirror.
mirror.
Start talking to yourself like a fucking crazy person.
I've done that at work.
You're like, yeah, everything's fine. I'm good.
Yeah, it's okay.
Right? And I think that we get this idea in our head that it's going to magically just be okay because we talk to ourselves. And honestly, it doesn't. I think in my case, talking to myself in the mirror sometimes makes it worse because then I get in my own headspace. But,
do you end up like fighting yourself? Like, say what, motherfucker? Say what?
No, I don't go all Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay.
I'm like, are you talking to me? That's Pacino, but whatever. My point, though, is, you try to reason with yourself and go, okay, everything's all right. I'm fine.
You're going to logic yourself back to earth.
Right, I'm going to bring myself right back out of this. And it's not always that simple, right? And so we also self-soothe maybe by communicating. Now, communicating can be a doorway to a lot of things. We can communicate with our partner and tell them something they did bothered us. And that created a problem for us, or maybe something they did was great and we needed to communicate with them and let them know that it made it easier for us.
Yeah, and we've learned when we talk to each other, it's not you did this and it hurt me. We try our best and we don't always get it right. Is when this happened, I felt this way.
Yeah.
To dig into it, because then it's just put out there, because it doesn't always mean someone did something wrong.
Right. And when we talk about this,
yeah.
I remember, especially what we get into here in a couple of minutes, but when I brought this up to you, you looked at me and the first thing out of your mouth was, is there something I could have done better?
Yeah, or differently, because and we'll dig into it, because my first reaction was, what could I or did I do to impact or influence how you were feeling on that end?
And that's the thing that I want to get at before we really get started here for you guys, is the driver behind all of this. The driver behind what starts the butterflies right down to the hurricane or razor blades, that is panic, right? Everything hurts, everything sucks, everything's scary, is fear. And that fear, that innate fear that somebody is going to be better than me and take them away and I'm going to end up alone. And even if you're not afraid of it, you're still afraid of it. We're all afraid of it. That's the thing that humans are generally afraid of.
It's the little monster inside of us, right? Like that one that tells us we're not good enough, and the one that tells us that, we're going to die alone.
Yeah, and I know that we all feel that way on some level. I mean, hell, I heard from some random dumbass a couple weeks ago who was like, doesn't it bother you to know that when a better guy comes along, he's going to take her away from you? I'm like, only one of us knows that, sir. So I am unaware of this.
Oh, rats! I've been outed.
Shit, I'm going to lose her to a guy with more money and a bigger penis. Bummer. And the reality is, of course, with that particular person, if that's what they think, then I feel bad for them because they don't understand women at all. But it's about your relationship and how you communicate and what you're capable of doing. And I think the last thing, right, is distraction, right? We definitely distract ourselves.
Yeah, busying ourselves, because I think, especially when you can't pinpoint the emotion or whatever you're experiencing physically, because, when you have a panic attack, you fucking physically feel it. It's so uncomfortable.
It's incredibly uncomfortable.
It is, and it's so painful, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally, because you can't fucking pinpoint why it's happening right now.
Well, and as a guy, when you have a panic attack, guess what you don't get? Hard.
Definitely not. But sometimes you have to busy yourself and physically exert yourself or busy your mind to let that shit kind of simmer down in the background, because that pot's just boiling over and all you're seeing is foam.
Yeah, easier said than done.
Yeah.
Because if you're hot wifing and you're at home working in the garage, sure, you can distract yourself. You can find yourself with doing something else, being busy. Here's the thing. If you're on a bed with 3 other people and there's a 4-way thing going on, and you start to have these emotions and these feelings,
you do what I do. You jump up and you offer snacks, and you run out of the room, and you come back with snacks, and then you offer water, and then you run out of the room, and then you bring water, and then you basically put on a fucking sideshow for the entire group.
Pretty much.
Hi, guys.
Right? And this is Mallory, and this is how she deals with it.
I do not recommend that. It makes it really awkward.
No, it does. Well, but think about this, right? That is kind of the driving force, the fear of not being able to self-soothe, the fear of, not being included, leads couples to say things like, we only play together in the same space at the same time, and when one person is done playing, we're both done playing. And that really is a defense mechanism against having to self-soothe, because you're like, look, I need to be busy with your wife, and then a second that I'm done with her, my wife has to be done with you. Do you know how fucking hard that is?
Or vice versa, yes.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
It's incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
And we've been down that path before.
Sounds like there's only one person winning.
Right? So basically, it's now a sprint to orgasm between 4 people. Whoever comes first is the only one that gets to kill.
Why do I hear an auctioneer in my head all of a sudden? Anyway.
I was thinking, gentlemen, start your engines. Right? But no, and I think the last thing, and maybe there's other ways we deal with, trying to self-soothe this panic, that hurricane or razor blades I keep talking about, is excuses.
Fair.
Just start making excuses. I'm this, I'm that, or maybe I've just had a bad day, and all these things can actually lead to it. But in reality, the only way to deal with this panic, the only way that works in long term, is communicating with your partner, letting them know that you had a problem, and that it's not their fault, but you need them to know that you weren't okay today, and you don't know why. It's nothing they did, unless it is something they did, right? But tell them, be honest, and take accountability for your own feelings and your own actions. Don't just put it on them. Don't go, you did this wrong and I felt bad. Or I felt bad and it's your fucking fault and I don't know why. That's not okay. And that's what you can't do, because these things are going to happen to you. Ask me how I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, we painting a little bit of a picture. Do you want to kind of run through exactly what happened? Like,
yeah.
From our perspective, because I mean, we have something kind of fresh. I mean,
we do.
It's pretty recent.
It is. And, from my perspective, I don't get wound up, right? I don't get wound up in group situations. I don't get wound up in single play situations. I've been doing this a long time. I've seen pretty much everything there is to see. It's very rare that I get surprised. I mean, when you see somebody get gummy bears sucked out of their asshole, that is pretty much the pinnacle.
That's fair.
But, I think I just wasn't expecting to feel the way I did. It came out of nowhere. I honestly can't tell you why. I honestly can't tell you what drove it, why it lasted as long as it did, where the thoughts came from. What I know is that Mallory went on a coffee date. I mean,
yep,
it's really just a coffee date, just fucking coffee.
Yeah, I went on a coffee date with someone I had sex with.
Yes.
And, I mean, there was definitely some heavy petting that happened as we said our goodbyes, but there was no intention of a sexual encounter there. So it was situation normal. I got ready, kissed you, said goodbye. You wished me luck, told me have a great time. You were good. I was good. And I left.
And I had shit to do, so it's not like I was just sitting here waiting for you to come home.
It was actually a work day.
I was busy.
I think it was like a Friday morning or something.
Yeah, and the toy store was busy that day too, so I had 2 jobs to do that day. And it really, I mean, what I can tell you from personal experience is you don't know when this is going to strike, and you don't know when it's going to literally be impossible to reason with yourself. What you can tell yourself is that there's nothing to be afraid of here. So where is this coming from? So as long as you know it's not coming from an irrational place of fear, right? Because fear is an acronym. False evidence appearing real.
Right.
Tell myself that all the time when something wells up inside of me, but it happens anyway. And here's what happened. She went on her coffee date. Nothing was going on. I knew. You were fine. You were just going to get some coffee and come home. Maybe get finger banged in your front seat. But, BFD, right? No big deal. Except about 10 minutes after you left, it set in. And I don't know why. I was sitting here working on something at my desk, maybe processed an order for one of you guys. Matter of fact, I think that's exactly what I was doing. And I couldn't get my brain to calm down. It was going wild.
Do you feel like, was it like compared to like your heart racing, like you took amphetamines or something? Like
I couldn't concentrate on anything.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking about where you were and what was happening, and I kept going back to you, and I couldn't get away from it, even though it was completely irrational.
Oh my gosh, stop being so obsessed with me.
I know, right? What the fuck? It's like we should get married or something.
And it's funny because usually what happens is status quo for us is I let you know when I arrive at the place that I'm supposed to be, just so you know I'm safe. We maybe exchange a text or two, like have a great time, love you, text me when you're done, or hey, please pick up milk on your way home, because we roll like that. But you and I actually had some dialogue, just like general, like you were telling me about something that was happening, like, and I think you were trying to distract yourself.
I was.
In that moment, and looking back, it just occurred to me, literally in this moment, that's probably what you were trying to do, and I did not identify that as out of sorts at the time.
Well, because I didn't tell you either, so that's also on me.
Because it was really positive. It was like our engagements were really positive, and it turned out I had to wait a few minutes for him to get there.
He was late,
so it was kind of
gave us an opportunity to talk, and for whatever reason, I mean, I think it even made me worse.
I was going to say, did it help or hurt though?
I think it actually made me worse because, and I know I wasn't flipping out with jealousy, I wasn't flipping out with fear. I went through all of this. It was physical. It was actually physical. Like. I had shortness of breath. My heart was beating at 150 beats a minute. My mind was racing. I had no control over how I felt.
And I feel so bad for you. I suffered, and I'm not immune to them, but I suffered from panic attacks in my early 20s, mostly associated with postpartum. And it's a terrible, awful, horrific feeling, especially when you can't identify what the trigger was. specifically?
The hardest part for me, because I actually did go to the mirror, is I looked at the mirror and what I saw standing there looked broken to me. And that was really tough to deal with in the moment.
Did it escalate things? Because my next question was going to be like, so we stopped texting. What were you doing? What happened?
Kind of just sitting here trying to make logic work, because logic was my friend in this case, and my brain was not, and my body was not. And so if my brain is broken and my body are broken, I'm broken. And so I'm looking in the mirror going, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, at this point, I've been doing this longer than anybody I know that isn't old, right? Because I started really young, and most people my age have not been in the lifestyle as long as I have. So to me, I feel like I have a responsibility when things like this happen to tell you guys that they happened, because I think maybe you think that there's this superpower that we have as longtime swingers and longtime lifestylers and longtime ethically monogamous, but I promise you, it's not a superpower. It takes work. And what I found myself in was in quicksand. Quicksand is the scariest thing that can happen to you emotionally.
Yeah, it's also the one thing we thought we'd encounter more often as adults than we did as children.
Yeah, Gilligan's Island really led me astray. So did Scooby-Doo.
I really thought it was going to be a problem.
I thought quicksand was going to be a real issue, but it turns out.
Funny, it's just an allegory.
Yeah, it is. Quicksand is emotional and mental. Thank you for that. But it is. It's this feeling that the harder you struggle, the worse it hurts. The more pain you're in, the more trouble you're having, and that's how panic works. Panic is quicksand.
Yeah.
Because the more you struggle, the harder you fight, the worse it gets.
So how long? So this date of mine went on maybe 2 hours. I was gone, maybe, because it took 20 minutes to get there, 20 minutes to get that. I know we were there for over an hour.
Yeah,
so
you're gone about 2 hours.
About right. So in that 2 hour span, how long did it last? Because you did not seem okay when I got home. So in my head, you had been struggling with this the entirety.
It lasted the entire day, more or less.
Yeah.
Once those things start, it's like a hangover, emotional hangover kind of. You just can't quite shake. I mean, when it gets to the level mine got to.
Yeah.
Now, the thing of it is, it's different, right? If maybe you just have something that just pops up and irks you in the middle of play and 4 people in a room or that kind of thing. These are not the same things, especially if you can do the things we talked about earlier, whether it's distraction, reason, talk to yourself, communicate with your partner, combat the fear that's driving these things. Those things generally work, but sometimes they fucking don't. And there's nothing you can do differently. You can't just go, I got this one thing and it's going to make it fine. It's not a substance. It's not a pill you can take. It's not a food you can eat. It's not a thing you can say.
You may project or feel like that one thing because like some people will self-medicate with alcohol, drugs, whatever.
Bad idea.
Well, yeah. I mean, because I don't know that it's going to help you get to the root of your problem.
If you have these issues, do not drink and drive.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you shouldn't drink and drive as a general rule.
I was talking about fucking.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you actually meant physically driving.
No, don't drink and drive. That's stupid too.
Okay. Sorry. I'll back this truck up.
Everything turned out fine in the end, right? She had a great time. She enjoyed her date with her new friend.
I did, but
she really liked this guy a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe I think that actually had something to do with it.
I was going to say, I think the fact, because I'm very blessed that I've been able to meet some really great people, and a few of those have become play partners. This one's a little different. This one's got a little extra to him that I find fascinating, and it gets my mind going and my body all at the same time. And we haven't had that happen in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's. I mean, that could certainly be it.
So, right? But my point was, I think he reached a peak panic before I got home, or during that two hour span, and then you were hung over essentially the rest of the day. And on my side of the fence, I felt immense amount of guilt. I know I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't step outside of our boundaries or the confines of our relationship.
No, not at all.
I didn't physically, emotionally, or mentally do anything wrong. But because you are my person, because you're my partner, the next steps for me were, could I have done anything differently?
Yeah, that was the first thing you wanted to know, because I pretty much told you that day that I had a problem.
Yeah.
And that it wasn't your doing. It wasn't your fault. There's nothing wrong. We didn't have to do anything differently. You didn't have to tell this guy fuck off and never want to talk to you again because my husband's a psycho and freaked out.
But at the time, you're like, I have no idea why this happened. Like I couldn't point to something. I don't have a trigger that I can identify or hand to you right now and say this was the problem, which it left everything really, really ambiguous. So
yeah, you didn't like that.
So then my next step as my person was, how can I help to soothe you? You went through the self-soothing process. I can still see that you were in distress. Maybe not so much now, but you weren't exactly operating at 100%.
Yeah,
so
I liken it to the day after a migraine.
Okay, that's fair.
That's kind of how it feels.
Sure. So, and then in my own way, I'm closing curtains and trying to make sure that the environment you have is loving and nurturing and whatever you need it to be to help you recover from that. And sometimes that's being close by and being physically like close to you, hugging, kissing, nurturing, whatever it may need. Sometimes it's just little shows of affection.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just doing regular life. You know, like we went to, I think we went out to Trader Mays or Renegers or something. I mean,
we spent
the next day together.
The next, let's be honest, 72 hours. We were not out of each other's sight.
Yeah, well, we do that pretty regularly anyway. But the thing that I struggled with here is, I mean, I really had a crisis in front of the mirror going, how is this happening to me of all people? Right? I mean,
so you admonished yourself?
I did. I was like, what's wrong with you, you giant pussy? And like, I've been doing this forever.
Pussies can take a beating, motherfucker.
Right? Those things are tough.
They are.
Right? All right, you giant scrotum.
Yeah, you fucking testicle.
But, it wasn't anything you did wrong. And I think, you coming home, I don't really feel like we could have done anything differently because you communicated very clearly this date was going to happen. You very clearly communicated what your intentions were for what was going to go on. Where it was going to go on, and roughly when you were going to be back. I mean, there was really nothing you could have done differently. And then even when you came back and saw that, something was not okay with me, you were very attentive about it. You didn't make it my problem. You didn't go, what's wrong with you? Why are you having an issue? I didn't do anything. Stop being a bitch. I mean, you didn't anything about it. You were actually great.
Oh, well, I love you. You are my person. And I don't think you would have, if the tables were turned, I think you would have addressed it very similarly, if not the same. And in hindsight, there are a couple of things that I've been thinking about that could have been it. Since quarantine, you and I have been insanely codependent on each other.
Yeah, we're together a lot.
We're together a lot, and even struggling. And you specifically have traveled for a living for most of your life. Having travel separately has been a little difficult for us. I mean, we get through it,
Yeah.
But it's been harder than it was earlier on in our relationship, which is just fucking hilarious. So I think maybe that level of codependency could be part of it, another layer of complexity to it.
I would agree with you. I'll tell you why when you're done.
And then my attraction to this person and the newness of it and how different he may be in relation to other people.
Yeah, it definitely got my attention.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But and not necessarily in a bad way, because I want that for you. I want you to have a good time. I want you to have fun. I want you to have people that light a part of your brain up that maybe that I don't touch. I mean, I'm a lot of things. I'm a very dynamic person, but I'm not every person.
Fair.
And there's nothing wrong with you getting stimulation from other people. And I mean that in every sense of the word. The thing that I have to figure out, especially now that it has happened, it's happened. I know it can happen again. So how am I going to deal with it if it does?
Okay.
Right. I mean, in the last time, I walked around in the yard. I threw the ball to the dogs. I mean,
and that's what I have to do to self-soothe. That's why I act like a freakazoid, because it's happened to me a couple times in couples play where I'm like, I don't know why I'm not okay, but I'm not okay. And I have to physically exert myself.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually my mechanism to quit smoking. Was that anxiety as it starts to build, like 5 minutes and I go hard as a motherfucker, and then I can dial it back. I can reason with myself, but I can't do it until I physically exert myself. It's like all these chemicals build up and I just gotta fucking purge them out, get them out.
Well, fortunately for me, even Z's tubby ass was like, I'd like to run and chase the ball. That'd be fun. Let's do that.
She runs like a cow.
She does run like a cow. It's fucking hilarious. But it's I did those things. How am I going to keep it from happening again?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not. That's the answer, guys.
I was going to say, how does it feel now that it's happened, knowing that it could happen again? Does that change anything for you?
I'm a little scared of it, if I'm being honest, just because
A little gun shy, maybe?
it sucked. It's not something I can necessarily control. I know the procedure I need to go through when it happens again. I know I can't control every emotion I have. Some of them, you just have to feel them. Okay. And that's the scary thing about emotion is sometimes you have to feel it. You can't ignore it. You can't reason with it. You can't talk yourself out of it. What you have to do is talk to your partner before and after and make sure that you guys are on the same page and that you know where each other stand. So when that comes up, you do have a standpoint from which you reason with yourself to say, everything's okay.
Yeah. The one thing, I'm going to ask you to do one thing differently next time if you can. And it may not be a reasonable ask because I think we all do this. Do not punish yourself in that process as you're trying to like parse it out or feel it out. Don't demean yourself. Don't punish yourself.
You mean like I just did this whole episode?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure that we're on the same page.
Actually, no. Yeah, I don't think you did that here. I think you're being vulnerable and letting everyone know that you're fucking human too. And it doesn't matter how long we do this for. It doesn't mean we're going to have the same reactions every single time. It's not like we have one variable and then a control. This isn't a fucking, third grade, science project.
As Casual Swingers evolved, I've started to feel, maybe it was since PCAP, the first PCAP, that it's a lot more important for us to be vulnerable about our failures and our perceived inadequacies. It's more important than it is for us to talk about the things we do well.
Yeah, and I don't think we're over here being negative Nancy's about anything
not at all.
else, but I think it's very important to be human. I think we wouldn't be doing our part as a community members or a member of our own little tribes, right, if we weren't honest about that, because that's how a lot of people learn. And what's the adage that, smart people learn from their mistakes, but wise people learn from others?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what we're trying to do in a way.
Yeah, well,
It'll also be entertaining because some of the shit, when we fuck it up, it's hilarious.
Yeah, we always fuck it up good if we're going to do it. We don't fuck it up halfway. We're like, no, this thing is not thoroughly fucked yet. Let me jump back in here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of how it happens. And, in the end, I think the most important thing I can tell you guys, this can absolutely happen to anybody at any time, at any phase of play. It can happen when there's no play going on at all. Ask me how I know. This can happen to anybody. So make sure that you communicate. Be human. Tell your partner that you had a bad time and it's not their fault. They can help soothe you without your making them feel like they failed you. And that's important, guys. Don't make your partner feel like they failed you because you had trouble self-soothing.
That is such a horrible feeling, too, because I think we do it to ourselves anyways when we feel responsible for our significant other, because that is our person. That is the love of our lives. And I promise you don't need to tell me if I think I failed you, because if I feel it, I feel it so hard.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and what I can tell you guys is I promise you our next episode will be a little more fun because Mickey will not have holes in his face and will not have been on drugs for a week.
I'm so proud of you for getting on here and doing this. I know it's hard.
Yeah, and it's not awesome.
I know you're not.
I'd like the women listeners to be like, we love Mickey. He's so strong and he's awesome, but that's not what happens.
Okay. Well, I don't know. At my birthday party, you had a fucking fan club.
Oh, whatever.
Literally. Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
I was sitting there going, wouldn't it be fucking funny if you got more play than I did? And
it did not happen. No.
I was a little mildly disappointed.
You did not look disappointed when you and Jess went trotting up the stairs. So
I don't know what you're talking about. Mind your business. I ain't snake bit no more, I'll tell you that much.
No. You have definitely crawled over that hump.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of hump.
Anyway, Iowa. Gotta fit it in.
That's right. A little bit. Yeah, there's the Iowa shout out for this episode. Happens every goddamn time.
We got another surprise for these guys.
Yes, we do.
Let's paint, a little more positive. We're going to bookend on positivity here.
Lots of positivity.
Yes. So you have a new segment for us.
I do. This is a brand new segment. So we're
Super
going to
excited.
Stop doing Cocktail Corner here on Casual Swinger.
Yeah, there's tons of wonderful podcasts. They'll give you drink recipes. There's so many available on the internet.
Yeah, there's just no reason for us to keep doing it when everybody else does it. So we're going to do something a little different. Some of you have seen the pictures of my bar here, the Casual Bar here at the Casual Compound.
So awesome. You've done such a good job with it. This is a labor of love.
Thank you.
For sure.
I have more than 100 different types of whiskey and bourbon in my bar. But something that Mallory and I both have a passion for is trying new and interesting whiskeys, bourbons, ryes.
Maybe we should pick up like a sport just to kind of like have a healthy balance.
Right? We're just going to throw some heavy shit around or something because we need to balance this out.
We need to go do CrossFit and collect whiskey. Like,
That's
then
right.
I'll feel less guilty about the whiskey. But
I can do CrossFit with my whiskey bottles.
No, don't do that because some of them you
They're
won't
very
even let me
expensive.
look at.
Anyway, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do once a month. We're going to call it the Whiskey of the Month. So WOTM, Whiskey of the Month. And it's going to be a brand new segment. We're going to come back with it here in a quick second after Mallory tells everybody where to find us. And we'll talk about the first Whiskey of the Month here on Casual Swinger.
I'm behind your couch. No, you can find us. We are Casual Swinger everywhere, casualswinger.com. Feel free to shoot us an email. If you have any questions or want to say hello, podcast@casualswinger.com. We're on social media. That is YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can check out our dating sites as well. That is Double Date Nation, Cassidy, SOS, and SOS.
All right, back in a hot second with Whiskey of the Month. You've been listening to Casual Swinger. Everybody, welcome back one more time to Casual Swinger. I'm still Mickey.
I'm still Mallory, and we're going to talk whiskey.
Whiskey of the Month.
I'm so excited. I love this.
I need to get a sound effect done for that or something. Whiskey of the Month Club or something. I don't know. No?
Okay, we can work on that.
Yeah.
We can work on
I should not be the
something.
one to do it. I don't have that voice, but
Yeah, I'll do something dirty and say it.
there you go.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll
right?
be fun.
I don't know, breaking news. But yes, this is our new segment. It's called Whiskey of the Month, and this is where we're going to talk about a whiskey. Here's the rules. Just so you know, to qualify for Whiskey of the Month, it has to be something that is widely available. It cannot be a regional whiskey. It cannot be something you can
Scarce.
only get. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, so can't be super scarce. Can't be something you can only get in Florida or Virginia or Michigan or whatever. It's got to be something that's widely distributed, and it has to be, this is going to be the bitch, by the way, under $50.
I think that's fair. There are a lot of really great bourbon whiskeys, ryes, because I think that has to be a qualifier too, right?
Mhm. It can be either a whiskey, a bourbon, or a rye.
Not
it can
that I
even
don't
be a
love
blend.
Yeah, not that I don't love Scotch, but you're not a Scotch guy.
No, yeah, we're not going to do Scotch.
no
Fuck that. It can be an Irish whiskey. It can be any number
Canadian
of
whiskey.
things. I don't know. Canadian whiskey is pretty gross. But see, I just pissed off Honey Spoon and the rest of the Canadians.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I don't drink Crown in my defense, though.
I've never actually seen an angry Canadian ever.
I think
honestly.
they exist.
I think you just did it though.
Well,
I think they're out there with
if they reelect
pitchforks.
Trudeau, we'll see a lot of angry Canadians.
Wow. Anyway, let's talk about no politics.
Oh yeah, we can't talk
Yeah,
politics.
no.
I'm not a Canadian. I can talk about their guy.
Whiskeys. So it has to be under $50, which I think is totally reasonable.
Very reasonable.
And widely available, and has to be a rye, whiskey, or bourbon.
Yes. Now keep in mind, this is not like this is the end all be all greatest whiskey that ever was segment of Casual Swinger. This is the accessible, if you don't know a lot about whiskey, great flavor, smooth, good taste. I mean, we're going to tell you things about these whiskeys as we get into them, but it's also affordable. It's also something you can buy it, and if you hate it, you're not out $500.
Yeah, and if you want to impress your boss or
That's right.
your new client or something, like this is great information to have. I.e. or E.g. I should say, I don't golf. But I
Correct.
work with a lot of men who do.
Mhm. And you fuck one.
My knowledge of bourbon whiskeys and rye have helped me kind of open the gate a little bit.
That's true.
So
you can talk to dudes about dude
I
stuff.
can. Well, it's not, hey, mister, we're not playing gender roles here.
Okay, my bad.
I'm going to smash all of the buttons.
I can smash all the buttons when we do it.
No.
Come on.
No. Wow. If I
No?
could cunt punt you,
Oh,
I would.
incoming cunt punt.
oh, please stop.
Don't Helga smash my balls. No? None of that? All right, let's talk whiskey. The whiskey of the month for October is Four Roses Single Barrel. Four Roses Single Barrel.
Now that's a Kentucky bourbon, so this is like classic.
Oh, yeah, this is a legit bourbon. This is from the distiller's name. This guy's name is, I know I had written it. There it
Brent
is.
Elliott.
Brent Elliott, master distiller Brent Elliott. So Four Roses is a Kentucky bourbon that ticks pretty much all the boxes,
Mhm.
right? It's affordable for starters. It comes in at $22 for a 750 on Drizzly. It's very inexpensive.
Yeah, this bottle should consistently be at most under $30.
Yeah, you should be able to get this one. It's a small looking bottle. It's kind of a narrow bottle that widens out as it goes down. It's not a super attractive centerpiece bottle. But what I can tell you about it is that it has a great deal, just a huge number of expressions in Four Roses. You have a lot of choices in Four Roses. But what he did with this particular one is he used 2 different mash bills and 5 different yeast strains to create a total of 10 different recipes to create this specific bourbon. Now, while the single barrel release uses just one recipe to highlight a unique building block of the whiskey, that is a rye mash bill, a high rye mash bill that makes the unique flavor of Four Roses single barrel what it is.
That's awesome. So how would you describe it from a profile if you're drinking this neat or on the rocks? What do you get from it?
Well, so when you drink a whiskey and you drink it neat, and that you can either, when you drink it neat, you can either do neat on the rocks or you can make a cocktail out of it. Neat means you're drinking it straight. That's the way Mallory drinks hers generally. It's because her dick is bigger than mine.
I like to feel when especially if I'm trying a new whiskey or it's a whiskey I really, really love. Neat is the way to go for me because I like the high hot notes of it. And when I say hot, I don't mean like burn my esophagus. The high spices, right? Like the cinnamons, the caramels, the stuff that really hits you on the top part.
Mm-hmm. For me, I think in this
you
particular
like the sweeter
case,
notes, don't you?
Well, I tend to like the sweeter notes, and I think a waterback brings out a little bit of those sweeter notes, but I don't like putting water in my whiskey.
I was gonna say you like it on the rocks, and
so
I like it to
ice in it.
mellow.
Yeah, and then if I'll hit it right as soon as I get it, and of course that's very little water content at that point. And if I like it, then I'll drink it fast. And if I need it to mellow out a little bit, I'll let the ice melt a little bit and then stir it up, water back it, and I'm good to go.
And that's something that makes these whiskeys like the profile changes with more water, right? And too watered down, and then it just tastes
shitty,
gross. But then you can get some of the fruit flavors out of it if it's too hot on the front, like it burns too much to really get the caramel or the plum, or like this one's plum, cherry.
Yeah, so
a little bit of vanilla, no caramel. There's
right.
really no caramel flavor in the Four Roses.
Yeah, Four Roses single barrel is primarily plum, cherry, and vanilla. And, it's funny because different tastings will present differently based on what you've had to eat that day. So you may actually taste some different things in there, but primarily plum, cherry, and vanilla on this particular one. Now, I characterize Four Roses single barrel as a very pleasant drinking Four Roses.
Yeah, this one I could do it on the rocks. Mm-hmm. After the cube is melted, because for me it's a little hot that it burns a little bit on the front. So
it's very smooth.
But it is very smooth. Yeah. You don't get the cringe afterwards like you do with some like really cheap whiskeys. Or mixed. Like I don't feel guilty if I mix this with like a ginger or ginger beer and
at the cost point, there's no problem with it, right?
Exactly.
You're not spending $150 for the bottle.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, I love some of the bottles we have. If we have a $75 bottle and I'm gonna make a drink, I'm gonna drink it straight.
Oh yeah, I wanted to throw a bottle at somebody's head at your party because they were trying to pour Blanton's into a cocktail. I'm like, look, that stuff's number one. It's rare. It's really not.
Do you know how much that bottle is worth right now?
Yeah, and the funny part was I was like, look, it's okay. It's not the best whiskey in the world. It's just super rare, and it's not worth what you're doing to it. But it's definitely not okay. They actually had in their hand the Japanese one, which is you can only get it in Japan. It's a barrel proof, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, don't.
It's like a $500 bottle. Please put that down.
That.
But no, this particular bottle is an inexpensive bottle, and in terms of flavor, availability, and cost, it's one of the best all-around under $50 whiskeys you can buy.
I have to agree, and we've come across a lot that fall into this category, but
we're going to have to talk about a lot of them once a month, 12 a year.
For me, this is probably one of my favorites. I have no problem ordering this, in a bar most of the time. At least in our region, or going to any liquor store. I mean, we've been in liquor stores all over the country.
Looking for rare whiskey because it's what I do.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. That this is a whiskey that's available pretty much everywhere. You can find it in liquor stores anywhere. Just about anybody that's in range of this podcast, including people that are overseas, will be able to go get Four Roses single barrel. And it's an excellent all around, and that's why it's Casual Swingers Whiskey of the Month.
Woohoo.
So there's our
What does it win?
What does it win? It wins us going buying a bottle and getting shit-faced. I don't know. I think we're going to take some time off between now
Dude,
and
my liver hurts.
November.
Yeah, I think so.
So just to maybe help us, I don't know. You have abs. Mine are comfy.
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't noticed.
Yeah, you do.
Thanks.
Kind of sexy.
Thanks.
Anywho, that's our original whiskey of the month. That's how we roll. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed your time with us today. We talked a little bit about whiskey. We just told you guys how to find us before you left the last segment, so we're not going to do that here. We'll just say bye gently.
Bye gently.
No. You know what? People just like to hear you talk that way, whisper in their ear. You should do the ASMR thing.
Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun, but I don't know that I could take it seriously. Myself seriously.
Probably
The
not.
process is fine, but myself is the problem.
That's all right. We'll be back here in a couple of weeks. We got a couple of special episodes coming your way, guys. For those people that turned us down from Fantasy Fest, don't worry. We've reached out to a couple other people. We're going to get some cool interviews for you guys. More to come in Season 4. You've been listening to Casual Swingers. Say bye, man.